Riley sat on the edge of her bed staring at her phone screen. The cursor blinked in the empty text box, waiting for her to type something she really didn't want to write. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, trembling slightly. She took a deep breath and started typing. Piano for sale. 150 hours, good condition. Must go quickly. She stared at those words for what felt like forever. They looked so cold, so final. Just 10 words that would change everything. Her thumb moved toward the delete button, hovering there for a moment before she pulled it back. No, she had to do this. The piano downstairs wasn't just a piano. It was her mom's pride and joy. The one thing in their small flat that still held memories of better times. Riley could still remember being 7 years old, sitting next to her mom on that worn bench, their hands moving together across the keys. Her mom would laugh when Riley hit the wrong notes, saying that mistakes were just new songs waiting to be discovered. That was before everything fell apart. Riley was 16 now, and her mom had been gone for 3 months. Not gone in the permanent way, thank goodness, but gone in a way that somehow felt just as scary. The hospital social worker called it a severe breakdown. Riley called it the worst day of her life. Coming home from school to find her mom sitting in the dark, unable to speak, unable to move, just staring at nothing. Now Riley was living with her Aunt Claire in a flat that was too small and too quiet. Aunt Claire was trying her best, but she had 2 jobs and barely enough money to feed herself, let alone take in a teenage girl. Riley heard her on the phone last night, talking to someone about bills, about how she didn't know how they'd make it through the month. That's when Riley made up her mind about the piano. The piano was still in their old flat, the one they couldn't afford anymore. The landlord had been kind enough to let them store a few things there until the end of the month, but after that, everything had to go. Riley had been putting off dealing with it, telling herself she had time, that maybe things would get better, that maybe her mom would get well enough to come home and they could figure something out. But time had run out, and the bills weren't going to pay themselves. She added a few more details to the listing. Upright piano, dark wood, some scratches, but plays beautifully. Perfect for beginners or anyone who loves music. She attached a photo she'd taken last week, showing the piano against the pale yellow wall of their old living room. Even in the picture you could see how much it had been loved. The wood was polished to a soft shine, and there were tiny finger smudges on the keys from years of practice. Her hand shook as she pressed post. The listing went live on 3 different websites. Riley felt sick. She set her phone down and walked to the bathroom, splashing cold water on her face. When she looked in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. She'd lost weight over the past few months. Her eyes had dark circles under them that made her look older than 16. Her hair, which used to be her pride, was pulled back in a messy bun because she couldn't remember the last time she'd had the energy to style it properly. "You're doing the right thing," she whispered to her reflection. Mom would understand, but would she? Riley wasn't so sure. That piano had been in their family for 3 generations. Her grandmother had played it. Her mom had learned on it, and Riley had spent countless hours on that bench, her fingers dancing across the keys, playing everything from classical pieces to pop songs she'd heard on the radio. Her phone buzzed. Already? She ran back to her room and grabbed it. 3 messages. The first one made her stomach drop. "Will you take 50? It's all I have, 50 pounds. For something worth at least 1,000. Riley deleted the message. The second one was worse. "Does it work or is it just for decoration?" Not trying to be rude, just asking. Just for decoration? Had they even read the listing? She closed that message without responding. The third message was different. "Hello, I'm interested in the piano. Is it still available? I can come see it tomorrow if that works for you." Riley typed back quickly. "Yes, still available. Tomorrow afternoon works. Where are you coming from?" The response came almost immediately. "Not far. I'm in London for a few days." "What's the address?" London, that was promising. At least it wasn't someone looking for a bargain or trying to scam her. Riley sent the address of her old flat and arranged to meet there at 2 o'clock the next day. That night she couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about her mom, about all the times they'd spent at that piano together. She remembered her 10th birthday when her mom had surprised her by learning her favorite song. It had taken her mom months to perfect it, practicing late at night when she thought Riley was asleep. When she finally played it with Riley sitting beside her, they'd both cried happy tears. She remembered last Christmas, just 10 months ago, when everything still felt normal. Her mom had played carols while Riley sang along, their voices filling the flat with warmth and joy. The neighbors had knocked on the door, but not to complain. Mrs. Patterson from upstairs had brought cookies, and old Mr. Chen from next door had asked if they knew any Chinese songs. They'd spent the evening with half the building crowded into their tiny living room, making music together. Those days felt like they belonged to someone else's life now. Riley rolled over and checked her phone again. More messages had come in, most of them lowball offers or people asking if she'd deliver the piano for free. She ignored them all. The person from London hadn't messaged again, but they'd confirmed the time. 2 o'clock tomorrow. She'd meet them, show them the piano, and if they were serious, she'd accept whatever they offered as long as it was close to $150. She needed the money. Aunt Claire needed the money. And honestly, seeing that piano every time she went to the old flat was like having her heart broken all over again. Maybe it was better this way. Maybe someone else would love it the way her mom had loved it. Maybe it would go to a family who'd fill their home with music and laughter. Maybe it would stop being a reminder of everything she'd lost. Riley finally fell asleep around 3 in the morning, her phone clutched in her hand, her dreams filled with piano keys and her mother's smile. Riley woke up with her phone alarm blaring in her ear. She'd barely slept 3 hours, but today was the day. The day she'd say goodbye to the piano. She got dressed in jeans and an old sweater, not bothering with makeup. What was the point? She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She just needed to get through this. Aunt Claire had already left for her morning shift at the cafe. She'd left a note on the kitchen counter. Good luck today, love. Remember, it's just a thing. Your mom would want you to be okay more than she'd want you to keep it. Call me after. Love you. Riley crumpled the note in her hand. Just a thing. If only it were that simple. She took the bus to her old neighborhood, watching familiar streets pass by through the grimy window. Everything looked the same, but felt different. The corner shop where she used to buy sweets. The park where she'd spent summers with her friends. The bus stop where her mom used to wait for her after school. All of it was still there, but it wasn't home anymore. Home was gone. The flat looked smaller than she remembered. She stood outside for a moment, key in hand, trying to gather the courage to go in. The door to the building needed paint, and someone had tagged graffiti on the wall next to the entrance. When had that happened? She'd only been gone 3 months, but it felt like years. Inside, the flat was exactly as they'd left it, dusty, quiet. The furniture was mostly gone, taken to storage or sold off to pay bills, but the piano stood in its spot by the window, looking lonely and out of place in the empty room. Riley walked over to it slowly, running her fingers along the smooth wood. She could see her reflection in the polished surface, distorted and wavering. She lifted the key cover and pressed middle C. The note rang out clear and pure in the empty flat, echoing off the bare walls. Then she played a simple melody, one her mom had taught her when she was little. Her fingers found the keys automatically, muscle memory taking over. For a moment, she closed her eyes and pretended everything was okay. Pretended her mom was in the kitchen making tea. Pretended this was just a normal day, but it wasn't. Her phone buzzed. A message from the buyer, running about 15 minutes early. Is that okay? I'm just around the corner. Riley's heart jumped. She wasn't ready. She'd thought she'd have more time to prepare herself, to say a proper goodbye, but life didn't wait for you to be ready. She knew that better than anyone. That's fine, she typed back. Flat 3B. I'll buzz you in. She spent the next few minutes cleaning the piano keys with a cloth she'd brought, wiping away dust and fingerprints. She wanted it to look its best. Whoever bought it deserved to see it at its finest. Besides, keeping her hands busy stopped them from shaking. The buzzer rang exactly 12 minutes later. Riley pressed the button to unlock the building entrance and opened the flat door, waiting in the hallway. She heard footsteps coming up the stairs, more than one person by the sound of it. Maybe they'd brought someone to help move it. A man appeared at the top of the stairs, dressed casually in jeans and a dark jacket. He was younger than she'd expected, maybe in his 30s, with a friendly face and an easy smile. Behind him was another man, taller, wearing a baseball cap pulled low and carrying what looked like a professional camera. Riley, the first man said, extending his hand. I'm David, thanks for meeting us. Us? Riley shook his hand, confused. I thought it was just you. Oh, right. This is my colleague, Tom. We're actually working on a documentary project about music and community. Tom's my cameraman. I hope that's okay. When I saw your listing, I thought it might make a good story. Girl selling her mother's piano. There's something touching about that. Riley felt her stomach tighten. A documentary? I don't know about that. I just want to sell the piano. Of course, David said quickly. We won't film anything you're not comfortable with. We just like to document interesting stories when we find them. But the piano is the main thing. Can we see it? Riley hesitated, but what choice did she have? She needed the money, and if this David person was serious about buying, she couldn't afford to turn him away just because he had a camera. She nodded and led them inside. David's face lit up when he saw the piano. Wow, this is beautiful. Much nicer than I expected from the photos. He walked over to it, running his hands along the wood just like Riley had done minutes before. May I? Riley nodded again. David sat down on the bench and played a few notes, then a scale, then a short classical piece Riley didn't recognize. He was good. Really good. Much better than a casual buyer should be. You play well, Riley said, her voice quiet. I dabble, David said with a modest smile. He played another few bars, something soft and melancholy. This instrument has a lovely tone. You can tell it's been well loved. How long did your mother have it? Her whole life, Riley said. It was her mother's before that. My grandmother's. And now you're selling it for $150? David stopped playing and turned to face her. His expression was kind but curious. Forgive me for asking, but that seems quite low for a piano of this quality. Riley felt her cheeks burn. I need the money quickly, and I need it gone before the landlord throws it out. I don't really have a choice, David nodded slowly. He looked at Tom, who had been standing quietly in the corner. They seemed to have a silent conversation with just their eyes. Then David pulled out his phone. Give me 1 second, he said. I need to make a quick call. He stepped into the hallway, speaking in low tones Riley couldn't quite make out. She stood there awkwardly with Tom, who gave her a sympathetic smile but didn't say anything. The whole situation felt strange. Why would someone making a documentary care about a random piano sale? And why did David seem so interested in the story behind it? David came back into the room, but he wasn't alone. There was someone else with him now, someone who'd apparently been waiting downstairs. A man in jeans and a plain black t-shirt, sunglasses on even though they were inside. He was tall and lean, and there was something oddly familiar about the way he moved. Riley, David said, there's someone who'd like to meet you. The man took off his sunglasses and Riley felt the room tilt. She knew that face. Everyone knew that face. She'd seen it in news articles, on social media, in memes. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Hi, the man said, his accent distinctly not British. I'm Elon. I heard you might be selling a piano. Riley's knees went weak. This couldn't be real. This absolutely could not be happening. Elon Musk was standing in her mother's flat, looking at her mother's piano, talking to her like this was completely normal. What? Was all she managed to say. Tom raised his camera, and for the first time Riley realized this wasn't just about buying a piano. Something much bigger was happening, and she had no idea what it was. Riley's brain had completely stopped working. She stood there frozen, staring at one of the most famous people in the world standing in her tiny, empty flat. This had to be a dream. Or maybe she'd finally cracked under all the stress. Maybe she was having some kind of breakdown like her mum. Are you okay? Elon asked, looking genuinely concerned. You look like you might pass out. I'm fine, Riley lied, her voice coming out squeaky and weird. What are you doing here? Why are you here? Elon smiled slightly. The kind of smile that suggested he got this reaction a lot. David here works with a charity I help fund. They look for stories of young people going through difficult times, trying to help their families. When he saw your listing, he thought I might want to know about it. Riley's mind was spinning. A charity? But I didn't apply for any charity. I just listed a piano for sale. I know, David said gently. But the way you worded it, the price, the urgency. I've been doing this work for 5 years. You learn to read between the lines. So I did a bit of research. I hope you don't mind. Public records showed your mum's been in hospital care, and you're living with your aunt now. I just wanted to help. Riley felt tears prickling at her eyes. She didn't know if she was angry or grateful or embarrassed or all three at once. I don't need charity, she said, her voice cracking despite her best efforts. I just need to sell the piano. And that's exactly what we're here to do, Elon said. He walked over to the piano, his footsteps echoing in the empty room. He sat down on the bench, his long fingers resting on the keys. May I? Riley nodded, not trusting herself to speak. He played. Not like David had played, with technical precision. Elon's playing was simpler, more hesitant, but there was something honest about it. He played a melody Riley didn't recognize, something soft and a little sad. When he finished, he sat there for a moment, his hands still on the keys. My mother taught me to play, he said quietly. Not on a piano this nice, but on an old keyboard she saved up for. She worked 3 jobs to buy it. I wasn't very good, to be honest. I was more interested in computers and rockets and all that, but she never gave up on trying to teach me. She said music was important, that it taught you patience and discipline and how to hear beauty in the world. He turned to look at Riley, and for a moment, he didn't look like a billionaire or a famous entrepreneur. He just looked like someone remembering his mother. How much do you need? He asked. Not how much you're asking. How much do you actually need? Riley's throat felt tight. I wasn't trying to scam anyone. $150 is what I need for bills, to help my aunt. She's been taking care of me and she's struggling, and I just thought, how much are the bills? Elon interrupted gently. What? Total, how much does your aunt owe? Riley's hands were shaking. This was too much. This was insane. I don't know exactly. Maybe 800? 1,000? She won't tell me everything because she doesn't want me to worry. But I hear her on the phone sometimes talking to the electric company, the council. She's behind on everything. Elon pulled out his phone. His thumbs moved quickly over the screen. What's your aunt's name? Claire. Claire Patterson. Riley felt like she was watching herself from outside her body. Nothing about this felt real. And this piano, Elon continued, still typing. What would you say it's actually worth? If you were being honest. Riley hesitated. The piano store told my mom it was worth about $200 a few years ago. Maybe less now with the scratches and age. And what's it worth to you, emotionally? That question hit Riley like a punch to the chest. She felt the tears finally spill over, running hot down her cheeks. Everything, she whispered. It's worth everything. It's the last piece of my mom I have left, but I can't keep it. I have nowhere to put it, no money to move it, and my aunt needs help. So it doesn't matter what it's worth to me. It has to go. Elon looked at her for a long moment. Then he looked at David, then at Tom behind the camera. Turn that off for a minute, he said. Tom lowered the camera immediately. The red recording light went dark. Riley, Elon said, standing up from the piano bench, I want to make you an offer. Not for charity. As a straight business deal. I collect interesting things. Art, cars, random stuff that has meaning. I'd like to buy this piano. Not for $150, for what it's actually worth. Riley's head was spinning again. I don't understand. I'll give you $5,000 for it, Elon said simply. That covers the piano's value, your aunt's bills, and enough to give you both some breathing room for a few months. Riley actually laughed, a sharp, almost hysterical sound. That's insane. You can't just give someone $5,000 for a piano worth $1,000. Why not? It's my money. Elon shrugged. And honestly, I think this piano is worth more than £1,000. It's got history. It's got soul. Those are things you can't put a price on. Plus, it'll go in my house and I'll actually play it sometimes. Well, I'll try to play it. I'm pretty rusty, but why? Riley felt like she was going to collapse. Her legs were actually wobbling. Why would you do this? Elon's expression grew more serious. Because when I was younger, my family went through some hard times too. Not exactly like yours, but difficult. And I remember what it felt like to watch my mother struggle. To feel helpless, to want to fix everything but not know how. You're 16 and you're trying to sell your most precious possession to help your family. That takes guts. That deserves recognition. He held out his hand. So do we have a deal? Riley stared at his hand like it was from another planet. This couldn't be happening. Things like this didn't happen to people like her. This was the kind of story you saw in movies or read about online. The kind that everyone said was fake. I need you to promise me something, Riley said, her voice steadier now even though tears were still streaming down her face. What's that? Promise me you'll actually keep it. That you won't just throw it in storage somewhere and forget about it. My mom loved this piano. My grandmother loved it. It deserves to be played. Elon smiled, a real, genuine smile. I promise.
Scout's honor.
Though I was never actually a scout. But the sentiment stands. Riley laughed again, but this time it wasn't hysterical. It was relief and disbelief and joy all mixed together. She reached out and shook his hand. Okay, deal. David will handle the paperwork and the transfer, Elon said. The money will be in your aunt's account by tomorrow morning. We'll arrange professional movers to pick up the piano next week. That gives you time to say goodbye properly. Riley couldn't speak anymore. She just nodded, tears flowing freely now. David stepped forward and handed her some tissues from his pocket, his own eyes looking a bit misty. Can we turn the camera back on? Elon asked gently. I think people should hear your story. Not because it makes me look good, but because there are probably thousands of kids out there going through similar things. They should know they're not alone. Riley wiped her eyes and took a shaky breath. Okay, yeah, if it helps someone else, then okay. Tom raised the camera again. The red light blinked back on, and Riley told her story. The red light on Tom's camera felt like it was burning into Riley's soul. She'd never been on camera before, not like this. Sure, she'd taken selfies and posted videos with her friends, but this was different. This was her life, her pain, all laid bare for strangers to see. Just talk naturally, David encouraged, sitting on the floor across from her. Pretend the camera isn't there. Tell us about your mom. About the piano. Whatever feels right. Riley took a deep breath. Her hands were still shaking, so she clasped them together in her lap. Elon had stepped back, giving her space, but she could feel him listening. My mom's name is Helen, Riley started, her voice quiet. She's the kindest person I've ever known. When I was little, she worked as a nurse at the local hospital. Long shifts, night shifts, whatever they needed. She was always tired, but she never complained. And every single day, no matter how exhausted she was, she'd come home and play the piano. Riley glanced at the piano, and more memories flooded back. She'd play while making dinner. Said it helped her unwind. I'd do my homework at the kitchen table and listen to her. Sometimes classical stuff. Sometimes old pop songs from when she was young. Sometimes she'd just make things up as she went along. When did things start to change? David asked gently. Riley swallowed hard. About a year ago. Maybe longer. I didn't notice at first because I was being a typical teenager. You know? Wrapped up in my own world, my friends, school drama. But looking back, I can see the signs. She stopped playing the piano as much. She'd forget things, like she'd buy groceries and forget she'd already bought them the day before. Or she'd start telling me a story and just stop halfway through like she forgot what she was saying. She wiped at her eyes, but the tears kept coming. Then she started calling in sick to work, a lot. She'd stay in bed all day with the curtains closed. I thought she was just tired from all those years of nursing. I didn't realize she was disappearing inside herself. What happened 3 months ago? Elon asked quietly from where he stood. Riley's voice broke. I came home from school and found her sitting on the piano bench. She wasn't playing. She was just sitting there in the dark, completely still. Her eyes were open, but it was like nobody was home. I tried talking to her, shaking her. Nothing worked. I called 999 and they sent an ambulance. She paused, the memory still so raw it hurt to breathe. The paramedics were really kind. They kept telling me I'd done the right thing, but I felt like I'd failed her. Like I should have seen it coming, should have done something sooner. You were a kid taking care of your parent, David said firmly. That's not how it's supposed to work. None of this is your fault. Riley nodded, but she wasn't sure she believed it. The doctors said it was a severe depressive episode with catatonic features. That's the technical term. Basically, her brain just shut down from stress and trauma. She'd been holding everything together for so long, working so hard to give me a good life, and she just broke. Is she getting better? Tom asked from behind the camera. A little. She's in a care facility now. She can talk sometimes, recognizes me most days. But she's not really my mom yet. Not the mom I remember. The doctors say it'll take time. Maybe months, maybe years. Maybe she'll never be exactly the same. Riley's voice hardened with determination. But she's alive and she's fighting, and that's what matters. And your aunt took you in, David prompted. Aunt Claire. She's my mom's younger sister. She lives in this tiny flat and works at a cafe during the day and cleans offices at night. She barely has enough money for herself, but she didn't even hesitate when social services called. She just said, of course Riley's coming to live with me. She's family. Riley felt a surge of love for her aunt mixed with guilt. She's amazing. But I see how hard she works, how worried she is. I hear her crying sometimes when she thinks I'm asleep. And I just felt so useless. I'm 16. I can't get a proper job. I can't contribute rent or much for food. All I had was this piano, and I thought if I could sell it, at least I could help a little bit. She looked directly at the camera now, her tear-stained face probably a mess, but she didn't care anymore. I know there are people who have it worse. I know I'm lucky to have Aunt Claire. Lucky my mom's getting care, lucky I'm not on the streets. But it still hurts. It still feels like my whole life fell apart and I'm just scrambling to pick up the pieces. The room was silent for a moment except for the quiet hum of the camera. Then Elon stepped forward. "Can I say something?" he asked, looking at David, who nodded. Elon sat down on the floor next to David, which seemed absurd. One of the richest people on earth sitting cross-legged on the dusty floor of an empty flat. But there he was. "When I was about your age," Elon said, "I felt powerless too. Different circumstances, but the same feeling of watching someone you love struggle and not being able to fix it. And I made myself a promise that if I ever had the power to help people in that situation, I would. That's part of why David's charity exists. We can't help everyone. We can't solve every problem. But we can help some people. And sometimes that's enough." He looked at Riley with an intensity that made her sit up straighter. "You're not useless. You're resourceful. You're brave. You're willing to sacrifice something precious to help your family. Those are exactly the qualities that will get you through this. And 5-10 years from now, when you're on your feet and doing well, you'll remember this feeling. And maybe you'll help someone else who's going through something similar." Riley felt something shift inside her chest. It was like a weight she'd been carrying for months suddenly got a little lighter. Not gone, but lighter. "Thank you," she whispered. "For the money, yes, but also for just listening. For caring. Nobody's really asked me how I'm doing through all this. Everyone asks about my mom, which is right, she's the one who's sick. But nobody asks about me. How are you doing?" David asked simply. Riley thought about it. Really thought about it. "I'm tired. I'm scared. I miss my mom so much it feels like a physical ache. I miss our old life. I miss feeling safe and normal. But I'm also stronger than I thought I was. I'm learning that I can survive things I didn't think I could survive, so I guess I'm doing okay. Or I will be okay eventually." Tom lowered the camera. "That was beautiful," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Really?" Elon stood up and brushed off his jeans. "David's going to give you his card. If you or your aunt need anything else, anything at all, you call him. No shame in asking for help. We all need help sometimes." Riley stood too, her legs steadier now. "Can I ask you something?" "Anything. Why didn't you just send someone with the money? Why come yourself?" Elon smiled. "Because some things are worth showing up for. And because I wanted to play the piano before I bought it. Can't buy a piano without playing it first. That's just bad business." Riley laughed, actually laughed. It felt good. David handed her a business card and a folder with papers. "These are simple. Just a bill of sale and the bank details where we'll transfer the money. Have your aunt look them over, sign them, and email them back to me. The money will be in her account within 24 hours. Riley clutched the folder like it was made of gold. In a way, it was. It was hope. It was breathing room. It was the chance to stop drowning. "I need to call my aunt," Riley said suddenly. "She's at work, but she needs to know. She needs to know it's going to be okay." Riley's hands shook as she pulled out her phone. The cafe where Aunt Claire worked didn't like employees taking personal calls during shifts, but this couldn't wait. She stepped into the hallway for a bit of privacy while Elon, David, and Tom talked quietly by the piano. The phone rang 4 times before her aunt picked up. "Riley, what's wrong? Is everything okay?" Just hearing her aunt's voice made Riley start crying again. She'd cried more in the last hour than she had in the last 3 months combined. "Everything's okay," Riley managed. "Everything's more than okay. Aunt Claire, you need to sit down." "I'm at work, love. I can't really sit down." "What's happened? Did you sell the piano?" Riley laughed through her tears. "Yes, kind of. It's complicated." "How much do we owe?" "Total, all the bills." There was a long pause. "Riley, we've talked about this. That's not for you to worry about. Please, Aunt Claire, just tell me." Another pause. Riley could hear the clatter of dishes and the hiss of the espresso machine in the background. "About 900, maybe a bit more." "Why?" "Because it's going to be paid. All of it by tomorrow morning." Silence. "Then, Riley, what did you do? Please tell me you didn't do something stupid." No, nothing like that. I sold the piano. But not for 150, for more." A lot more. How much more? Riley took a deep breath. $5,000. The phone went silent for so long Riley thought the call had dropped. Aunt Claire? Are you there? When her aunt spoke again, her voice was barely a whisper. That's not possible. Nobody pays that much for a used piano. Riley, please tell me you haven't gotten mixed up in something dangerous. I haven't, I promise. It's real. It's legitimate. There's paperwork and everything. The money's coming from a charity, sort of. They help families going through hard times. A charity? I didn't apply for any charity. I know. They found me. They found the listing and they wanted to help. Riley didn't mention Elon yet. Her aunt would never believe that part. She could hear her aunt crying now, trying to muffle the sound. I'm sorry, Aunt Claire said. I'm so sorry you had to sell your mum's piano. I should have been able to take care of us better. I should have. Stop, Riley interrupted firmly. You've been amazing. You took me in without thinking twice. You worked 2 jobs. You gave up your whole life to take care of me. This isn't on you. None of this is on you, but the piano. Your mum loved that piano. I know. But she loves me more. And she'd want me to be okay. She'd want us to be okay. Riley glanced back through the doorway at the piano. And it's going to a good home. Someone who will actually play it. Someone who promised to take care of it. They talked for a few more minutes, Aunt Claire asking questions between sobs. Riley answering as best she could. When they finally hung up, Riley felt lighter than she had in months. It wasn't just about the money, though. That was huge. It was about hope. About the feeling that maybe, just maybe, things were going to work out. She walked back into the flat. Elon was sitting at the piano again, playing that same simple melody from before. He looked up when she entered. Everything good? Riley nodded. She couldn't believe it. She kept asking if it was real. It's real, David assured her. As real as it gets. We'll have the movers scheduled for next week. They'll take good care of it. Riley walked over to the piano, standing beside it one last time. She ran her fingers along the wood, memorizing every scratch, every imperfection. Can I play something? One last time? Of course, Elon said, standing up and gesturing to the bench. It's still yours for now. Riley sat down, her fingers finding the keys like old friends. She didn't think about what to play. She just let her hands move, playing a song her mom had written years ago. It didn't have a name. Her mom had just called it Riley's song because she'd composed it the day Riley was born. It was simple but beautiful, with a melody that rose and fell like breathing. Riley had heard it hundreds of times, but she'd never played it herself until her mom got sick. Then, sitting alone in the empty flat one day, she'd figured it out by memory. Now her fingers knew it by heart. When she finished, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. Even Tom had lowered the camera and was wiping his face. That was your mum's? Elon asked. Riley nodded. She wrote it for me. Then it should stay with you. Elon pulled out his phone and hit record. Play it again. I'll video it. That way you'll always have it, even after the piano's gone. Riley played it again, this time knowing she was capturing it forever. When she finished, Elon sent her the video. Thank you, she whispered. The next hour passed in a blur. David went over the paperwork, making sure Riley understood everything. Elon made a few calls, arranging things Riley didn't fully understand but trusted were important. Tom filmed various angles of the piano, creating a record of it in its original home. Finally, it was time to go. They all stood by the door, an awkward moment of not quite knowing how to say goodbye after something so life-changing. What happens now? Riley asked. With the video you filmed, I mean. David smiled. We'll edit it into a short documentary. With your permission, we'll share it online, not to make you famous or anything like that, but to show people that kindness still exists, that help can come from unexpected places, and maybe to inspire others to look out for people who are struggling. And if it helps just one person feel less alone, Elon added, then it was worth it. Riley thought about that, thought about how alone she'd felt these past months, how invisible. Okay, you can share it. If it helps someone else, then yeah, do it. They exchanged contact information, final handshakes, and promises to stay in touch. Then they were gone, and Riley was alone in the flat with the piano one last time. She sat on the bench, not playing, just sitting. Tomorrow the money would arrive. Next week the piano would be gone. Life would move forward. But right now, in this moment, she let herself feel everything. The grief, the gratitude, The hope, the fear, all of it. Her phone buzzed. A text from Aunt Claire. "I love you. We're going to be okay." Riley typed back. "I love you too. We're going to be more than okay." Then another text, this one from David, a photo. It was Elon at what looked like his house. The photo caption read, "Found the perfect spot for it." In the image, there was a beautiful room with large windows and morning light streaming in. Right in the center, a space was cleared, waiting. Riley smiled. The piano would be loved. That's all that mattered. She stood up, took one last photo of the room for herself, and walked out. She didn't look back. Looking back wouldn't change anything. The only direction that mattered now was forward. 3 weeks later, Riley and Aunt Claire visited the care facility. Riley's mom was having a good day, more alert than usual. They sat in the common room talking about simple things. The weather, the food, a bird that kept coming to the window. Then Riley pulled out her phone. "Mom, I need to tell you something. About the piano." She watched her mother's face carefully, worried about how she'd react. But as Riley told the story, her mom's expression wasn't sad. It was proud. "You did good, sweetheart," her mom said, her words slow but clear. "Really good. The piano was always just a thing. A beautiful thing, but still just a thing. You're what matters. You and Claire. Family matters." Riley hugged her mom, feeling some of the guilt she'd been carrying finally lift. "I have a video of your song. Want to hear it?" She played the recording, the piano melody filling the quiet room. Other patients and visitors nearby stopped to listen. For those 3 minutes, the whole room was transported by the simple beauty of a mother's love, transformed into music. When it ended, Riley's mom had tears streaming down her face, but she was smiling. Really smiling in a way Riley hadn't seen in months. "Play it again," her mom whispered. So Riley did. And in that moment, she understood something important. The piano was gone, but the music remained. The love remained. The memories remained. And sometimes that was enough. Sometimes that was everything.